2, 1.
7 things you probably didn't know you need to know. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Smart 7.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, the 1st of December, and it's World AIDS Day. And a big happy birthday to Bette Midler, Riz Ahmed, Sarah Silverman, and Zoe Kravitz.
7.
There were 8 new cases of the Omicron variant discovered in the UK on Wednesday, which brings the current total to 22. Boris was back in the Big Blue briefing room, and his focus was as usual on the booster programme, with a new plan to offer them to everyone eligible by the end of January.
We want to ramp up capacity across the whole United Kingdom to the levels we achieved in the previous vaccination effort. We're going to be throwing everything at it in order to ensure that everyone eligible is offered that booster in, as I say, just over 2 months. There'll be temporary vaccination centres popping up like Christmas trees.
And even as the head of the Health Security Agency, Dr. Jenny Harris, warned that people should look to reduce socialisation levels across the festive season, Boris was still sticking to his beloved Plan A vaccination guns.
We don't see anything to suggest that we need to go, for instance, to Plan B. But whatever kind of a threat it may present, Sam, the crucial thing to do is for everybody to go out and get vaccinated.
The House of Commons passed renewed COVID legislation on Tuesday night that will be in place until March next year, and with the goal of vaccinating 23 million people by the end of January, NHS England Chief Executive Amanda Pritchard explained what the plan is to ensure that everyone gets their jab in just 2 months.
We now have nearly 3,000 sites available across the country. That's almost double the number that we had back in February. Local areas will also be using mobile vaccination units, which can allow people to get protected basically on their doorsteps.
And Health Secretary Sajid Javid was playing the patriotic card to ensure that we have a very British Christmas.
This is a national mission, and we all have a role to play. If we want to give ourselves the best chance of a Christmas with our loved ones, the best thing we can all do is step up, roll up our sleeves, and get protected when the time comes.
Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer was more concerned about the risks from international travel and the fact that potential carriers of the Omicron variant could be wandering around on their way from the airport.
The government needs to do its part, which is put that pre-departure test in. The moment people could come into the country, they then travel home on busy public transport, then take a PCR, and then it can be a day or two before you get a test. So pre-departure tests, vital. We've written to the government. They need urgently now to put that additional measure in place.
The trial of Ghislain Maxwell continued in New York as she faces up to 80 years in prison on charges of grooming young girls for sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The jury heard from Epstein's longtime pilot Larry Vysotsky, who reeled off a list of well-known passengers that he'd flown on Epstein's various jets to luxury locations. They included Donald Trump, Kevin Spacey, Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew. Lisa Bloom, attorney for 8 of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers, who's observing the case, said the defence presentation of Jeffrey Epstein is utterly bizarre.
I think the lowest point for the defence was saying Jeffrey Epstein is a 21st century James Bond. He was so charming and intelligent and wealthy, a wonderful donor to the arts. You know, completely forgetting the dozens and dozens of victims who have come forward and said that he sexually assaulted them. And I have to assume that came from Ghislain Maxwell herself, that she wanted that said. Perhaps she's still in love with him.
In James Bond lore, the head of MI6 is known simply as M. Obviously, real life is nothing like a James Bond movie, but the real head of MI6, Richard Moore, gave his first ever live broadcast interview yesterday on Radio 4, and it turns out instead he's known as C. He also says new technology is more important these days than gentlemen in dinner jackets.
The boffins behind the wire type model doesn't work for us anymore. So we need to partner in a different way with industry. We need to be in there, in Silicon Glen, in amongst the UK tech sector, having open conversations.
Still to come on the Smart 7, Tiger Woods opens up on his path back to golf, and Ed Sheeran has a catchy Christmas gift for you. Right after this.
You're listening to the Smart 7. If you're enjoying it, you might also like the Smart 7 Ireland edition. Just search and follow us on your favourite podcast platform.
3.
It was was a quiet night in the Premier League last night with only 2 games and 1 goal. Leeds beat Crystal Palace 1-0, while Newcastle and Norwich played out a goalless draw. England's Lionesses, on the other hand, set a new scoring record as they put 20 goals past Latvia in a 2023 Women's World Cup qualifier. Turning to golf, living legend Tiger Woods is finally making a comeback after his high-speed car crash in Los Angeles. He was speaking at the Hero World Challenge Golf Tournament, which is hosting in the Bahamas, and he says it's been a hard road back.
There were some really, really tough times, and pain got pretty great at times, but I'm on the better side of it, but I still got a long way to go. And
he's really not that optimistic about his chances of a return to full-time golf.
As far as playing at the tour level, I don't know when that's going to happen. I'm able to participate in the sport of golf. Now, to what level, I do not know that.
The Outlaws is a BBC comedy thriller starring Christopher Walken and Stephen Merchant. Series 1 has been a big hit, and it's just been confirmed there'll be a Series 2, following 7 strangers who bond while completing a community payback sentence in Bristol. Stephen created and directed the show, and he popped up on Jonathan Ross's show on Saturday night, but was more interested in discussing how hard it was to explain the very English concept of Guy Fawkes to his American girlfriend.
600 years ago, a man tried to blow up the king. But we caught him, of course we did, we're Brits, and we tortured him, and we cut off his genitals, and we disemboweled him and took his entrails around the city of London as a warning to others. But we didn't feel we'd made the point sufficiently. So every year for the next 6 centuries, we get together and build bonfires and burn an effigy of him. It's for the kiddies.
Well, now it's December, Christmas is officially here. And what's the perfect Christmas gift? Well, it's a brand new song from Ed Sheeran and his very best mate and daily phone caller, Elton John. They've teamed up for the imaginatively titled Merry Christmas, which you can be almost certain you'll be whistling as you stroll around Marks and Spencer's in 2037. Been the Smart 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Have a great day.
Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.